Hey everybody, it's Katharine. I hope that you are having a great day, and I'm so glad that you have joined for Children's Bible Study today. All right, last time I got to do one of these, we got to talk about Joseph in the book of Genesis. And I bet if you were in my Sunday school class when you were even littler, you might remember that we would say the first few books of the Bible like this: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. So we were in Genesis last time at the very end of the book, and today's video is going to take us into Exodus. So I have a couple of pictures to share with you to help you remember about last time. Okay. So if you remember, we were talking about Joseph, and this is Joseph right here in the middle giving a hug to his brothers. And you might remember that Joseph had been sold as a slave over to Egypt by his brothers. And at the end of Genesis, he and his brothers are reunited, and he was able to provide food for them. And they also forgave each other. Mainly, Joseph needed to forgive his brothers for selling him into slavery. And so then Jacob, Joseph's father, the older gentleman there in the middle of the picture, gets to come down to Egypt. And I wonder if Jacob might have wondered if he should even come to Egypt, because Jacob had been promised by God that he would be made into a great nation in Canaan. And so it might have been a little hard for him to leave with all of his people and come down to Egypt, because that might not have seemed like God's ultimate plan, because God had told him and his father and his father's father, Isaac and Abraham, that he was going to make them into a great nation. So leaving Canaan to come to Egypt might have sounded like to Jacob, I wonder how this is going to fit into God's big plan. And so today you're going to get to see how God is continuing that big plan that he started when he told Abraham and Isaac and Jacob that he was going to make them into a great nation. Okay, so what happens is we go from Exodus now to, we go from Genesis now to Exodus. Okay, remember those books of the Bible? Let's say them again: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Okay, you wanna sing it out with me? It's the first 4 books of the Bible. You ready? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. Okay, so we went from Genesis, and now this picture takes us to Exodus. Okay, so the beginning of Exodus tells us that all the Israelites, all of Jacob's and Joseph's descendants, are living there in Egypt, and there's a new king, and the new king doesn't remember exactly who Joseph was, because remember, Joseph was super duper important in Egypt. But once there's a new king, a new Pharaoh, doesn't really remember how important Joseph is, but he does know that the Israelites, the people of Joseph and Jacob, have become a really big group of people, and he gets worried that they're going to try to take over. So he decides to make them slaves. Okay, and so that's what you see here. They're having to make bricks out of straw, and they're slaves here in Egypt. Okay, and so God is part of his big plan is going to bring them out of Egypt to give them their promised land, to continue to make them a great nation. So he's going to use Moses to do that. Okay, so this is the new king, one of the new kings at the time that we're talking about. This is Pharaoh. And so you might remember this part of the story. Moses has said, "Let my people go, let God's people go." And finally, after all sorts of happenings, Pharaoh says, "Okay, go. You all just can go." And so they pack up and they head out. And that's kind of where our story picks up today. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop the share for a minute, and I'm going to read you from Exodus where our story picks up today. Okay, so this is Exodus 14. And if you want to get your Bible and read Exodus 14 right along with me, you can hit the pause button and go get your Bible. It'll be Exodus 14, verse 10. Okay. All right, so here we go. Exodus 14, verses 10, 11, and 12. As Pharaoh drew closer, the Israelites looked back and they saw the Egyptians marching toward them. The Israelites were terrified, and so they cried out to the Lord, and they said to Moses, "Weren't there enough graves in Egypt that you just took us away to die out here in the desert? What have you done by bringing us out of Egypt like this? Didn't we tell you the same thing in Egypt? Oh, let's just leave it alone. Let us work for the Egyptians. It would have been better for us just to work for the Egyptians than to die out here in the desert." Okay, so they are getting really nervous, okay, because they have come out into the desert to try to get away from being slaves. You saw that picture. That didn't look like that was a good way to live, to be their slaves. But now that they're out here, and it looks like that the Egyptians are just going to, that they are just going to, kill them out here in the desert. They're wondering, why in the world did God do this? Okay. One thing I love about the Bible is that it really deals with real people and real problems. So, they've got this wall of water in front of them. The sea is in front of them. This army is coming behind them. And that may never have happened to you. You may have never been chased by an army, but you may have felt really scared, or you may have felt like you were out of options and that just nothing good was going to happen next. You may have been, it may not have been an army, but you may have had people that are being unkind to you. You may just feel really overwhelmed and really sad. And that's what the Israelites are feeling. So I love it that the Bible really shows us people who are struggling and dealing with all sorts of emotions, just like we are. Your situation may not be the same, but you may have some of the same feelings that the Israelites were having. Okay, so let's see what happens. This is verse 13. But Moses said to the people, "Don't be afraid. Stand your ground and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians that you see today, you'll never see again, because the Lord will fight for you. You need only to keep still." Okay, I am going to share that verse up on the screen because I think it's so important. So look at this, okay? Oh, goodness. It says I'm sharing, but I can't get to it. Oh, sorry. All right, here we go. So check this out. All right, this is the verse I just read you. Moses said, "Don't be afraid. Stand your ground. Watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today, you'll never see again. The Lord will fight for you. So just keep still." That might sound like really strange advice. There's an army behind them. There's a big sea, a big ocean in front of them. And basically Moses is saying, don't do anything. Just stand right here and keep still. I don't know about you, but sometimes I think it's really hard to just stand still, to just be still. I like to be doing things and going or talking. I do lots of talking. But God is asking them through Moses to just be still. And you know what? When we feel like the Israelites felt, when we feel overwhelmed and scared, being still can be one of the ways that we can remember that God is with us, that he will do just like it says, that he will rescue us, that he will even fight for us. That's telling us that we're never alone, that God is always there for us, even when we are really afraid and overwhelmed. One thing that we can know is that God is with us. He's fighting for us. God is on our side. God loves us. So here's one thing that you could actually practice about being still. I find it really hard to be really still, especially when I'm scared and nervous and overwhelmed. Here's one thing I like to do. I like to say this verse from Psalm 46:10 and take a deep breath and say the verse, blow my breath out. So maybe you'll say it with me. Be still and know that I am God. And here's one trick that I have. I like to take this verse, and maybe you'll do this with me, and I like to say the whole verse, and then I say it again, but I leave off the last word. And then I say it again, and I leave off 2 words and 1 word all the way down until I'm just saying the 1 word, be. So maybe you'll do that with me. I find that when I do this, it helps me to kind of get centered and still and calm. So here we go. Maybe you'll say it with me. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. And then if you wanted to, you could even say it again and add a word each time. Be still, and add a word to the verse each time. Sometimes just being quiet like that and having something that you can focus your mind on can help you remember that God is with you. God is fighting for you. You are not alone. All right. I am actually going to do something that might be really hard for you. It's hard for me. I'm going to set the timer for 30 seconds. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds just to be still. You could close your eyes. You could give yourself a hug and sit tight. You could just breathe in and out and try to listen to your breath, knowing that God is as close to you as your breath is to you. But I'm going to give you 30 seconds just to be still. See if you can do it. All right, here we go. I'm going to set the timer. Here it comes. Here it comes. Timer's about to go. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can be still. You could even try saying that verse like I did if you wanted to. 30 seconds on the clock. Here we go. Okay. So hopefully you can practice that. All right, we still have a little bit more to our story, but that's the first main point I want you to take away from today, is that when we can be still, it's one way that we can remember that God is fighting for us, that God is with us. Okay, I'm kind of spoiling the next part, but I think you might know what's coming. But I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for just a second. But that is the next picture. Okay. Uh-oh. Sorry. Uh-oh. All right, you know what? I'm still sharing, and so I'm gonna leave it up because it doesn't want to go away. So I'm gonna read the next part of our story, and you can just focus in on the picture. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to get moving. As for you, lift up your shepherd's rod, stretch your hand out over the sea and split it in two so that the Israelites can go onto the sea, into the sea, on dry land. But me, I'll make the Egyptians stubborn so that they'll go in after him. and I'll gain honor at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army and his chariots and his cavalry. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain honor at the expense of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry. So God's messenger, who had been up at the front of Israel's camp, moved and went behind. The angel went behind. This column of cloud, moved from in front and took its place behind them. And it stood between Egypt's camp and Israel's camp. The cloud remained there, and when darkness fell, it lit up the night. And they didn't come near each other all night. And so then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord pushed the sea back by a strong east wind all night, turning the sea into dry land, and the waters were split in two. And the Israelites walked into the sea on dry land. The waters formed a wall for them on the right and on the left. And the Egyptians chased them and went into the sea after him, and all of Pharaoh's horses and chariots and cavalry. And as the morning approached, the Lord looked down on the Egyptian camp from the column of the lightning and the cloud and threw the Egyptian camp into a panic. The Lord just jammed those chariot wheels so they wouldn't turn easily. And the Egyptians said, "Let's get away from these Israelites because the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." And so then the Lord told Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the water comes back and covers the Egyptians and their chariots and their cavalry." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak, the sea returned to its normal depth. And the Egyptians were driving toward it, and the Lord tossed those Egyptians into the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the cavalry, and Pharaoh's entire army that had followed them into the sea. Not one of them remained. And the Israelites, however, walked on dry ground through the sea, and the waters formed a wall for them on their right hand and on their left. And the Lord rescued Israel from the Egyptians that day. Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore, and Israel saw the amazing power of the Lord against the Egyptians. And the people were in awe of the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. Okay, so just like the Lord said he would, he did the fighting for Israel. All they had to do was walk through on dry land. And God used that cloud and his angel behind the Israelites to send the Egyptians into confusion. And he did the fighting for them. Here's my next picture. Check this out. Look at that. That's them coming all the way through that sea, parting of the Red Sea. Imagine you're in that caravan. Imagine you're one of those kids walking along with all those adults. Man, what would that have felt like? To have the wall of water up on one side and the wall of water up on the other side. And you're right there in the middle on dry land. Man, God did just what he said he was going to do. He fought for them. Okay, that was a lot of listening. Let's have a song break, okay? Are you ready? I bet you know this song, okay? You may have sung this song at Vacation Bible School, or you've just heard it on maybe in the car riding around town. You might have this song on a playlist or a CD or something. But if you know it, you can get up and do the motions with me. I have the second verse up here so you can sing along, but I bet you know the beginning part. That's the part everybody usually knows. It goes like this, Pharaoh, Pharaoh, oh, let my people go. Yeah, 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 I said, Pharaoh, Pharaoh, oh, let my people go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, and then here's the verse that goes right along with what Moses just did. Okay, maybe you can sing it with me. All God's people came to the Red Sea, with Pharaoh's army coming after me. I raised my rod and I stuck it in the sand. All God's people walked across dry land. I said, Pharaoh, 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 whoa, let my people go. Huh. Yeah, 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 yeah. So there's several verses to that song, but I thought you might need a little song break to be able to get up and move after doing some good listening to our story. All right. So if you want to sing it again, pause the video and sing it again. Get your wiggles out. I want to point out one more verse. So if you need to sing that song again on your own, pause the video and get your wiggles going. All right, are you ready? Here's the verse I really want us to focus on. It was the last one in that whole section of verses that I read. So it says that the people were in awe of the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and in his servant Moses. So here's the thing. I think what the Israelites learned is that God provides. God provides. Now, in this story, God provided in a really big way with a miracle, such a big way that they couldn't even imagine that that's what God was going to do. And sometimes God provides for us in those really big ways that maybe we couldn't have even imagined. But God also provides for us in small ways. And so my encouragement to you is to try to think when you're in the middle of a really scary or overwhelming or frustrating situation, to think about how God might be providing for you. It might not be a really big dramatic miracle. It might simply be that when we're still, like we talked about doing earlier today, that God can remind us that he's with us. That's part of the way God provides for us. He might provide for you by giving you a friend or a family member who gives you some encouragement. He might provide for you in an unexpected way. But if you're watching for it, you might notice how God is providing for you. God doesn't always take away the things that are scary or hard, but he will provide for us even in the middle of what's scary and hard. God won't always take away the enemies like he took away the Egyptians, but he will provide for us even when we're in the middle of really hard situations with other people or just even within ourselves. So that's what I want you to remember today, is that God provides. So let's put these two lessons together. Be still and see how God provides. That's the two verses I want you to put together today. That God told the Israelites, I'll fight for you. You just have to be still. And then there at the end, the Israelites realized how God provided, and it helped them believe in God. And that can be true for you too. If you start to notice the ways that God is providing for you by being there for you, by never leaving you alone, by providing your church family for you and other members of your family that you live with for you, we learn that God can be trusted. We can believe in him. That increases our faith in God when we see how he's providing. And faith in God is just believing that he's going to do what he says he's going to do and that he is who he says he is. He says that he's going to love us and never leave us. And he says that he will take care of us. So be still and see how God provides. Okay, I wanted to play a little song for you to end our time together. And I am going to play that for you. And once I get it all situated, I'll let you look at those lyrics. So this is by a lady named Ellie Holcomb, and I'm going to play it for you right now and share my screen again and see if that will work. Okay, let's see if it'll work.
Protect your family if you needed to? Are you confident that you have the best gear?
Hit it, Dad! So here's some of the lyrics of what she.
We buried dreams, laid them deep into the earth behind us, said our goodbyes at the grave, but everything reminds us. God knows we ache when He asks us to go on. How do we go on? We will sing to our souls. We won't bury our hope. Where He leads us to go, there's a Red Sea road. When we can't see the way, He will part the waves, and we'll never walk alone down the Red Sea road.
Okay, so I hope that you heard in that song, The Red Sea Road, I hope you heard the part that matches with our Bible story. That she's singing about how when we feel like we're alone, we're walking down towards that Red Sea Road, toward a situation where we feel like the Israelites felt. We feel scared and we might even feel alone. You heard that they felt like God must not be with them because they said, God, why have you even brought us out here? This is a terrible situation. We should just go back to Egypt. They didn't see how God could possibly get them out of that jam. And she says that may we always remember that we're never alone, even when we're walking in a similar situation as the Israelites. We can remember and have hope that God will provide for us. All right. I hope you have a great week. Can't wait to see you soon. Bye.